Anything that's not inside your focus is this. Everything inside your focus is signal. This is the stuff that you're intentionally focused on. Everything outside your focus is noise. It exists, but you don't notice it. It's kind of like the refrigerator running in the background. It's kind of like not remembering to turn your windshield wipers off because you're so focused on the road after it was raining that you don't even hear the windshield wipers. So what happens is we filter out the noise. So the part of our present experience that's outside of our focus is filtered noise. Anything that's not inside your focus.
All right, go back. All right, so the real video we're going to start with is this.
Steve would say, by the way, not a nice guy. Not a nice guy. A man or woman that understands the signal-noise ratio, that focuses on that, they'll be successful. He does not deal with noise. He is 100% signal. The 18 hours he's awake, it's all signal. Look how wildly successful he was. But here's why. So I used to work.
What's up, everybody? Will be the Blacksmith Podcast here. I am today talking about time management, right? Now, why that guy got smacked with the bull in the back, I have no idea. But what we're going to talk about is time management right now. And no one's a wizard like Merlin where they can just alter time and make it go forward or backward. No one can do that. All you can do is utilize the time that you have to the wisest extent possible. And this right here is Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, aka Shark Tank guy. So if you weren't familiar, now you may be. He used to work with Steve Jobs, and he's going to teach us something about signal versus noise, but it all goes into time management. Let's hear it.
Work for guys like Steve Jobs and others in my career. Let me give you one that I think is very important. We'll start with this one. I used to work for Steve Jobs in the early 90s, making all of his educational software. I mean, it was just, there they are. My goodness, you guys do good research. Those are the kind of things that we did for him,
I think this guy's channel is called The Diary of a CEO, something like that. If you want to see the full clip or the full interview, I actually would recommend it. It's over an hour long, but who even cares about that if you're getting good information?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
You know what? You better.
Yeah, all of that. It's hard to find. Those are CD-ROMs. But, and I would say, Steve, we got to do some market research on Oregon Trail. I mean, it's a huge title. It's in 110,000 school buildings. We got to do an update. It's going to cost you $12-15 million. We want to find out what the students want. We want to find out what the teachers want. We want to find out what the parents want. Steve would say, by the way, not a nice guy. Not a nice guy. He would say to a room full of people, Kevin, I don't give a shit what the students want or the parents think or anybody thinks. It's what I want. They don't know what they want till I tell them what they want. And I said, Steve, you sound like such an animal. You have no idea what that sounds like. He says, no. That's how it is, Kevin. Now, are you making money with me? Am I your fastest growing OEM? Have we not been wildly successful and continue to be? I said, yes, Steve, that's true. He said, then shut up and do what I say.
That's how he would talk to you.
100%. And here's what I learned. Look how wildly successful he was. But here's why. There's a concept that he understood that very few people focused on back then in the early 90s of signal to noise ratio. What was so brilliant about Jobs?
Hold on. So if you didn't know who Steve Jobs was the CEO of Apple. Okay. And Apple, if you weren't familiar with it, I think you probably are not from planet Earth, but Apple was the first $1 trillion market cap company. Nvidia is now taking the first $5 trillion company, but Apple was the first $1 trillion company. And I'm saying the first because trillion was just a word we threw out there that rhymed with billion back in the day, right? Um, and now we have billionaires walking around. In the 90s, millionaire was the billionaire of today, right? There was no billionaire in the 90s, right? Even the richest people were only in the millions, right? Now, billionaire is the thing to be. So, what I'm getting at is he's talking about Steve Jobs and how wildly successful he was. I'm trying to show you and paint a picture. Steve Jobs was that dude.
There's a concept that he understood that very few people focused on back then in the early 90s of signal to noise ratio. What was so brilliant about Jobs that I tell every CEO now, and I don't care if you're an S&P 500 CEO or you're just starting a business, his vision of signal was the top 3 to 5 things you have to get done in the next 18 hours.
Take these notes.
Not your vision for the business next week or next month or next year, just the next 18 hours you're awake. You're going to get those 3 things or those 5 things done that you have deemed critical for your mission. They must get done today. Anything that stops you from doing that is the noise. So this signal to noise ratio to be successful for Steve Jobs was 80-20. 80 signal, 20 noise. And I knew that to be true with him because he would email me at 2:30 in the morning, expect me to get back to him, because back then we didn't have texts, it was all email. He was right. He was right. And the only other person that I've seen that has a higher ratio than that is Elon Musk. He has no noise. He does not deal with noise. He is 100% signal, 24 seconds, every cycle. I mean, the guy is just 60 seconds of every minute, 60 minutes of every hour. The 18 hours he's awake, it's all signal. And look what he's achieved. Now, it's very awkward for him socially because noise is dealing with your family sometimes, or noise is saying hi to a friend, or noise is listening to some doom scrolling on some social media app that just takes your mind, or maybe playing your guitar. But very few people on earth, and if you go back in history, you're going to find out that the geniuses of their time were close to 100% signal.
And so I can really sort of summarize this for my audience. Signal is the most urgent thing you should be focused on right now, and noise is basically everything
No,
else.
the goals you set for the wait that you were awake. If you're going to be awake 18 hours, and you've determined that there's 3 things you have to get done, you're going to get those done. No matter what it takes, you're going to get those done. And you're not going to let anything distract you from the 3 to 5 things. If you're a CEO and you achieve that, and you can get those done with 80% of your time based on that, you're extraordinarily successful. You are absolutely, and you're Steve Jobs, or you're an Elon Musk, or you're somebody. If you even talk to Bezos, I don't know him personally, but I've heard in many interviews, like I knew, I've met Elon just a few times. I spent a lot of time with Jobs, but they say the same thing. Bezos will not make a decision after 1 o'clock in the afternoon because he felt that the noise was too high. The signal for him was in the morning hours. This is a crucial aspect of success that I now understand to be the ability of it defines an entrepreneur. A man or woman that understands the signal noise ratio, that focuses on that, they'll be successful. The ones that can't, that get down to a 50-50 signal noise, they'll fail. It's that simple.
All right. And there you heard it, Mr. Wonderful, AKA Mr. Shark Tank, AKA Kevin O'Leary. Signal versus noise. And we're going to talk about that. So now that's not mine. I say that so you know that is not mine. I tend to ask the question of, oh, shoot, wrong shirt. I'm flashing my audience here. Wait, is it not even on this shirt? Is my shirt inside out? Hold on. No, my logo is here. Oh, I got the old school shirt on. Hold on. Okay, mine isn't signal versus noise. I thought I had this shirt on, and it's all wrinkled up. It It was folded up. What do you do with your 62? I thought I had this one on. I didn't. So I jump up, but I didn't pull this one. I have a muscle shirt on underneath, thank God. So I don't get flagged for flashing my audience. But listen, signal versus noise, it's pretty much saying the same thing as what do you do with your 62? Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. That was one of those moments. All right, so listen. So when I teach this lesson called the basics, I go over hard skills, soft skills, budgeting, paying yourself first, all about credit and time management. Let's just deal with time management because it is the most, I think it is probably the pinnacle soft skill out there. More so than leadership, more so than communication, more so than teamwork, brainstorming, work ethic. It does kind of tie in the work ethic, though, is what you do with your time. So let's talk about it. I want everybody that actually is watching this live or will see this on YouTube, whatever platform you're watching this on, I want you to do this exercise right now. So if you are able to, let's do this right now. So everybody gets the same 168 hours in a week. If I granted you 40 hours for work, that's 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. There's your average work week. That would leave you with 128 hours. All right, follow the math. If I granted you 56 hours for sleeping, that is going to leave you with 72 hours. Okay? And if I gave you 10 hours for the 3 S's, shower, shave. So defecate, shower, shave, and commuting to and from work, Monday through Friday, 2 hours a day. That adds up to 10 hours. I'll just say commuting, getting ready for work, etc. Right? So if I grant, yeah, I know it's not an S. I'm not saying it. Stupid. This guy right here. Some people's kids, man. I'm going to also tell y'all later why you should raise your kids correctly, but Exhibit A in the chat. So after all of that, that leaves you with a grand total of 62 hours. So, and my question for you is, what do you do with your 62? That is to say, what do you do when you are not working, sleeping, getting ready for work, or commuting to and from work? That also is to say, what do you do with your spare time? Right? What do you do with your spare time? And I would argue that what you do with your spare time is all that is separating you from Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Roger Smith, or Don Peebles. If you don't know Warren Buffett, if you don't know who these people are, that's also a problem. But look these people up. I'm just trying to tell you that's all that's separating you from greatness. What you do with your spare time. And that is my way of saying it. Who learned from Exhibit B, teaching the live? Oh, who did learn from exhibit? Yeah, I don't know who did learn from exhibit B. There's somebody teaching alive somewhere. I'm sure somebody learned from, but not this bloke because I almost like an older brother. Yes, almost. All right, so I want everybody watching this to do y'all are killing me. Where's my killing me smalls? I don't have one.
Oh my God.
All right. So I want everybody watching this to do this exercise, right? And understand that your 62 might be different, right? Just take it from 62, just leave it at the template, and I want you to do yours based off of that, right? Now, if yours looks a lot different, go ahead and shape this to what it needs to look like for you. So if you work 60 hours a week or 80 hours a week or 70 hours a week, go ahead and take that. Your 62 is going to be reduced, right? Because you work more hours. Now, if your commute is shorter than that, if your commute is 5 minutes, then 5 minutes, so that's 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes times 5 days is only 50 minutes. So you wouldn't get the full 10 hours for commuting a day. That would be like an hour. So you'd have 9 hours left over. Just round to the nearest hour. You don't have to go minute for minute. But I want you to, some of you sleep 12 hours. Some of you, instead of sleeping, you hibernate. So it is winter time. So, I get it. And it's cold. You don't feel like getting out from under those covers when you feel that cold. So if you hibernate, your hours would look different. But I like you to take it from the template and just utilize the 62 so you can get the concept. And then I want you to do one very specific for yourself, like all the way. Don't even use the template. Do all the way. Now, you won't change the 168 because, yes, each week, 24 hours times 7 days a week, that is 168 hours. So you can't change that. All right. So I want everybody to do this exercise. So I have a brother that, I did this exercise with, and I will tell you what, I got him down to 27 hours that he could not account for. Now, let me show you what that means. And I didn't say which brother, but he knows. So he could be embarrassed, but don't be embarrassed. Watch this. I'm going to show you something, right? We got him down to 27 hours. 27 hours. Now, remember, this is a week. So 27 hours times 52 weeks is 1,404 hours, right? A year. Now, if you divide this by... I just lost what I was trying to do. God dog. What was I supposed to divide this by? So, okay. So it was 27 hours times 52 weeks divided by, these are hours, so 24. Yes. 58.5 days that he can't account for out of a 365-day year. So I told him, look, that's 58 and a half days. You just might as well not exist. You're in a black hole. You have no idea where your time goes. And that's a lot of time if you think about it, right? Minus 365, that's 306 days of the year of productivity. That's just 306 days of productivity. So think about that. Well, and here's the thing, it's 306 days he can account for. Not all of it was even productive, right? Because there was some video game playing in there. There was some Instagramming or social media in there. And this is not about him. This is about the concept, wasted time. And the thing about that time, if it was $58.50, you could make that money back. You'll never get those 58 and a half hours or days back. You'll never get them back. So let's see, on average, Well, let's do an exercise here, right? So let's use 62. We'll start with 62 hours. And what do y'all think? What's some of the exercise you folks on the live here? My folks on the live, my people. What give me some things that you think people do in a week outside of sleeping, working, commuting? What are some things that people do in a week while I read this chat comment? I just made dinner. I also made a homemade pizza dough, all while setting up documents to file a case. Wow. And taking care of sick children. Today was a good day. Cooking. Okay. The average person cooking. All right. Cooking for how long? Give me they cook every day. I need hours. Everything has to translate to hours. 30 to 2 hours, 30 minutes to 2 hours. Let's take 2 hours. So let's go 2 hours. All right. For cooking. My wife is over here. She said the gym. So I would say if most people work out, they probably work out an hour a day, maybe 5 days a week. Um, so um, let's give 5 hours for exercise. Now everybody's 62 is going to look different. I see groceries. Are you talking about shopping? And doctor appointments. The average person on a weekly basis will have I don't think the average person on a weekly basis will have doctor appointments, but shopping, I'll just roll it all into shopping. How's that? How many hours do you think errands? Running errands? Yeah. Okay, we could do appointments slash errands. How many hours a week do you think you would do that? 2? All right. 2 hours for errands. Okay. What else? What about the entertainment aspect? Netflix and Amazon Prime. Y'all thought I was gonna say something else. Where's your mind at? Netflix and Amazon Prime. Uh, video games, family. I am asking the audience. So okay, so family time. How many hours do you think on average people spend for family time a week? Is it an hour a day, 2 hours a day? What? Remember, it counts the weekend. 48 of these hours are the weekend. So family time. Does that include extra activities for kids? Yes. So after school. Okay, so it's however you spend your time, right? So what I'm asking about is what you spend your time doing. So if you're talking about like homework after school, yes, that is included. That's actually added into my 62. Homework after school, scrolling on the phone, family time. Family time can include like sitting down, having a conversation with the family. Y'all eating dinner can be family time. Playing Uno, Skip Bow, Game of Life. If y'all play video games in the same room, I don't know. That is not family time. Thank you. Yes. That is. So I have a live audience in person and
What did he say?
and Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. All right, I'm getting a lot of comments here. All right, let me see. Kids sports practice 1 to 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. All right, so let's take. Do you want? We got to pick one. So let's take 2 hours. You said 3 days a week, so 6 hours. 6 hours for what do you want to call it? Kid sports, kid activities. All right. Sorry. Hold on. Let me get back to the family time. Yes, yes. I would include that in family time. Yes. Sorry. Account for every second. No, I'm not accounting for every second, but dang. This guy right here. Lord have mercy. For family time, yeah. How much time for family time do you think on average? Just give me a number. And then we're going to do some math after you give me the number on this one. 6 a week? Okay. 6 hours for family time. What I mean is anything you do, estimate so we can see how much time is wasted for idle. Yeah. All right. So let's get the calc. So 6 and 6 is 12. That's 14. That's 19. That's 21 hours. So far, we've cut 21 hours. So that will equal. Okay, let me do this right. Because this won't make sense. 62 minus 21 hours is going to equal 41. All right, we still got 41 hours, folks. 41 hours. 41 hours. I said and that was my folly. I made a mistake. I said to my wife that was over here, she went downstairs now, but I said to her the weekend was included. 48 hours of this was the weekend. No, it's not. It's not 48 hours on the weekend. It's 32. Remember, we counted 8 hours of sleep per night all 7 days. So if you take a third of the day out, that's 16 hours Saturday and Sunday. So you have all of Saturday and Sunday once you're awake to do stuff, right? So that's 16 hours Saturday, 16 hours Sunday. So effectively almost for about 52% of this is your weekend days. Laundry, cleaning, all right, how many hours a week? Remember, I need the activity with the number of hours. Does the average person play video games? Let's think. So when you say laundry, cleaning, does the average person play video games? Does the average person watch TV? Does the average person go to the movies? Does the average person, I already put exercise in there. I give the average person maybe an hour a day, 5 days a week, which might be actually on the heavier side. I know my 62, it look a lot different than that. I spend more than 10 hours a week at the gym, and which is what she was shouting from the side. But it's also why my traps are touching my earlobes. All right, maybe 3 hours cleaning. Okay, let's do that. So 3. Now look, I want you to understand something. This is like doing taxes. Look how tedious this is when you don't just have a W-2. Well, or if you follow all the lines and stuff like that and go down, this is like doing taxes. You have to really add all this stuff up for cleaning, I think this was, right? This is tedious because you know what this does? This forces you to first think about everything that you normally would. And as soon as that runs out, because that'll run out quick, then I have to say, okay, This is what I have to do. I did this with a sailor this week. What was his number? I think he had like 35 hours a week. It was something like 35. And when we added it up, it was quite an egregious amount. I'm gonna see if I can get it from the days, because I think he had like 73 days unaccounted for. And I don't remember what that the amount of hours that was. Let me see. He was like 73.8 or something like that. 73, I guess it'd be times 24. Yep, 1752. And then I would divide that by what? 52. Yeah, 33 days hours per week unaccounted for. It was something like that. See how you can reverse the math when you're good at it? I'm not the best at math, and especially on camera, man. I lose it sometimes, and it's embarrassing. All right. Well, I'm just looking at maybe what an average person would do. I don't live like this, so I'm trying to guess. Yeah. That's what we're doing. We're guessing the average person. No, you're exactly right. If I said anything confusing, I'm saying right now you're doing it right. We're guessing for the average person. I put 5 hours for exercise because I'm just guessing the average person. It might be 3. I'm just shooting in the dark here. My 62 wouldn't look like this. So this is not mine. This is the average person. Let's say they watch an hour worth of television Monday through Friday. So that's 5 hours, 2 hours a day on the weekend. So what is that? 9 hours. So it'd be 2, that's 4, and an hour a day, that's 5. So 9 hours for TV. Let's say they play video games an hour a day. Yard work, 2 hours a week. Let's do it. 2 hours for yard work. And you know what? Rock. All right. So, watch this. Here's the thing. Let's say you could whittle all 62 hours down to 0 because you can account for them. That's fantastic. Even if you were wasting hours, the fact that you can account for all 62 is fantastic, especially if it's spot on. Like if you got about a 90% accuracy or better, I would say fantastic. You know why? It's just like a budget. This is a budget. This is a budget of your time. So it's way more important than a budget of money. This is a budget of your time. And if your budget is not at least 90% accurate, you would say it's a trash budget, right? So if you wouldn't accept a budget being less than 90, you shouldn't accept a budget of your money. You shouldn't accept a budget of your time less than 90% being accurate. If you wouldn't accept a budget of your money being less than 100% accurate, then you need to clean up your 62, my friend, and you need to have that same energy for your time. The most valuable resource that you cannot replenish. You can't get more of this. If you could, it would be less valuable. We wouldn't even care about budgeting the time. Time management wouldn't even be a soft skill, but it is. And none of that rhymed, but I'm going to still say it. Bars. All right. So get what I'm saying. If you can get this down to 0, at least we know you can account for every hour and what you do per week. And I'm talking on average. I'm not talking about weeks where you go and visit somebody or somebody comes over. I'm talking about a standard week. What does it look like? Because that's going to get your accuracy up. But just like you do a budget for money every week, you could do a budget for your time every week. And people will say that's crazy, but then they'll be the ones with the highest numbers per week. 50 hours a week they can't account for. Well, let's do some math on that one. 50 hours a week they can't account for times 52 weeks is 2,600 hours. Wowzers. Divided by 24 hours, 108 days. So roughly a third of their year they can't even account for. These are the folks that go out on the weekend, get blackout drunk, or during the week they go out, they get blackout drunk, can't remember what happened, can't remember the night at all, and then they just sleep during the weekends for 12 hours a day, right? So they're sleeping 12 hours a day. So that's 16 hours they had. And because they don't have to work, so that's 16 hours you were giving them. They cut into that. Now they only have 12 hours from Saturday and 12 hours from Sunday. So 24, not 32. See that? But they're accounting for it because they were asleep. But this is what I'm saying. Like, so it's terrible when you can't account for the time. It is better when you can. It's best when you it's better when you can. It's best when you can and you have a good amount of productivity in your days, because we haven't even gotten there yet. Once we account for all the time, then we need to account for how much time was actually productive. But I've never gotten there with anyone because I need someone to get it down to 0 or at least 10 or less so we can say how much time is actually productive, right? And that is what we want to get to. So let's add this up right here. Let's stop right here. We'll do, this is 5, this is 14. Later, we can check mine. Okay, cool. Not on camera. I don't want anybody's on camera unless they feel comfortable actually doing that on camera, because I don't want anybody being embarrassed, right? It's not about embarrassing anybody or outing anybody. I just want people to improve. And if they can do that, I'm ecstatic. So this is 41. We know this is hours. So 41 minus 14 hours equals, put on my thinking cap. Is that 27? 27. Yeah. 7 plus 4. That would be the one. Put that one over there. So that'd be 2 plus 2. Yeah. 27. 27 hours. All right. So now we have our grand total. We can't account for 27 hours. So 27, here's going to be the formula, right? So we'll do 27 unaccounted for hours times 52. Oh, I'm sorry. 27 unaccounted for hours per week times 52 weeks equals what? That's the formula. So 27 times 52 equals 1,404. Let me just put these two next to each other. There's a quick way I can hotkey Control in Windows or Alt or something and flip between the screens. Do y'all know how to do that? I don't know how to do it. I'm asking. If y'all know how to do it, I'll try it on camera. If I mess it up, I'll blame y'all. So this is 1,404 hours per year. Now this one is per year that you can't account for, right? 1,404 unaccounted for hours per year. Now, we're not done with the equation because remember, we have to divide that by 24 hours to get it converted into days. You got to Alt tab it. All right, let's see. Alt tab. And then what? because it brought up a screen over here on this screen. Am I like, oh, you got to hold Alt Tab? Oh. Oh. Okay. I see what that does. I meant, is there a quick way to switch between the tabs? Hold on. Is there a quick way to switch between the tabs up here? Or are there no hot button or short keys? Sorry, I wasn't clear. All right, so divide this by 24 hours. That's going to equal what? Divided by 24 hours. 58 and a half. Didn't we just do this? This is the same number somebody else had. Oh, I said one of my brothers. Duh. We came to the same amount of hours as one of my brothers. All right, so 58 and a half unaccounted for days per year. Now, this ought to scare you because let's say you're definitely going to live 10 years, right? So 10 years, let's say you don't just live 10 years like this. Let's say you live 40 years like this. Let's do the math. Times 40 years. You have 2,340 unaccounted for days. And it's not like, all right, look, folks, and then, you know, when I say stuff like this, or when people say stuff like this and you're just trying to help people, folks always go off the rails. Well, it's not like you're gonna, that's the face they make. Well, it's not like you're gonna remember every hour of every day anyway. That's not the point. You're not gonna remember every penny you ever earned or ever spent in a day anyway either. That's not the point. The point is planning. Success is not, you don't trip and fall and stumble into success. You had to have planned for it. But you don't have to plan to fail because remember, failure to plan is planning to fail. So the fact that you just don't have a plan is going to ensure your failure. How do you now ensure that you don't fail? Well, then you have to plan for success. There is no in between. You're either going to plan for success or failure to plan for success and fail most assuredly. All right, bars. All right, so we did this exercise. Run this exercise on yourself and see exactly what you come up with. And look, it's not something you have to come and tell the group. Just make sure you got it on paper. Show your wife, show your husband, show your kids as a way to help them with their time. Now, obviously, a kid's 62 is going to be a lot different, right? So, but it's not to say kids can't have one, right? Maybe that's the next thing I'll do is I'll make one for kids, right? But this is for adults. This is purely for adults. Now, adolescents, right? The ones in the teenage years, they should be doing the adult one because they're preparing to be in our world. And they're going to be an adult a lot longer than they are children, right? You get 17 years or 18 years of childhood. When you hit that 18th year, you may live to 88. That's 70 years of adulthood. You can't hold a candle to what your adult years were, right? So this is very important, folks. Where does our time go? Let's talk about that next. All right, you see it. Read it and weep because this is going to look different for you too. And if you have an Android, I got some news for you. Maybe Apple does this, but we'll talk about it a little later. Let's look at the screen. The average person spends 2 and let's just say 2.5 hours per day on social media as of last year and this year, right? So in the last year, this was a study that was done, 2.5 hours. This adds up roughly to 864 hours per year over 36 days, with teenagers often spending significantly more time. nearly 5 hours daily. Users typically engage with about 6 to 7 different platforms. Let's go over them. I bet we can name them. You ready? Go. Instagram. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go the younger folk. TikTok, then IG. Do they use Snapchat anymore? Facebook, that's for us old heads, the old ones now. MySpace is gone. I think I just burned out. What else do y'all know of? YouTube, that's social media, right? Does YouTube count? Is YouTube a social media platform? Y'all help me out. If YouTube, hold on, is YouTube social? You listening to me? Yes, YouTube is social media. So yeah, I stick to my guns then. YouTube, and if YouTube is social media, then Rumble is not that popular yet. Y'all help me out. Look, we got TikTok, Instagram. What did I say? Facebook. Oh, Reddit. That's a good one. That is a good one. And that stock, my friend, did not fall. We gonna talk. But anyway, let's continue. What did I say? Snapchat, YouTube. He said Reddit. Get one more. What's another social media platform folks are spending all their time on? It's got to be popular. Oh, I see they got them off the bottom, and we named those already. Discord. Darn it. Discord. That's a good one. That's a good one. All right, so let's look at this. So they already did the math for us, right? The average person, and they're talking about an adult here, and I say the reason why they're talking about the average adult is because they said right here with teenagers often spending significantly more time, nearly 5 hours daily. So let's add this for the teenager. And so see, look, if you don't do this with your kids, look at how much time. Where do they find 5 hours daily to be on social media? You know when they find it? Before school and after school. So what do they do at their 62? What? Oh, wrong one. Well, social media would be the answer. But then the other one that I would say is, I always say to people, you will never reach all of your hopes, dreams, financial goals from what you do from 9 to 5, but from what you do from 5 to 9. Now, I butchered the quote, but what you do from 9 to 5 will never have you reach all of your financial goals, your dreams and aspirations, but what you do from 5 to 9. And look at it this way. You have 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. when you go to work, and you have 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. for when you get off from work. Pick one, right? And that's what they do with their 5 to 9 is social media. So 5 hours a day times 7, 35 times 52 weeks, 1,820 hours divided by 50, no, not 52, 24 hours. So they have 75 days. So this was 36. Yeah. So they are over double what adults are doing on social media. Now, that's not to say listen, that's an average. 2.5 hours a day is an average. Some adults are at 7, some are at 0. Some of them don't open a social media platform in a day. I typically do. And it's YouTube for me. All right. So top platforms, TikTok. I can talk. Here we go. I can read too. Reading's fundamental. Not AI. Top platforms. TikTok is the most engaging platform in terms of time spent, with users often going over 30 hours per month. I thought it was going to say day, but 30 hours per month. Imagine that. you are spending 30 hours per month of your day. Now, see, with me, YouTube, I will have YouTube on with a podcast or something while I drive to work. My drive to work in the morning is an hour and 15 minutes. So I'm listening to something in the morning. And I do the same with Audible, right? I'll do the same coming home from work, but typically coming home from work, everybody's awake. So I'm typically talking to my wife, my brothers, my best friend, a couple of my Navy buddies. I'm typically making phone calls and more social with people, engaging with people on a phone call on the way home. But on the way to work, yes, I do that. I will listen to a podcast or something while I'm exercising in the morning. And I do 2 hours every morning, Monday through Friday, right? So I will rack up time on YouTube, but I'm not sitting there staring at it. I'm actively engaged in doing something. So the social media aspect would not be a part of my 62 just because my time is being spent exercising. My time is being spent commuting. When you have to put social media as part of your 62, that means you're sitting there watching the phone. So that's why I say with watching TV, you're not doing something else. You're sitting in the bed before you go to sleep, like I do with my wife, right? We're laying in the bed watching TV, and after the episode is over or 2 episodes are over, we turn it off, go to bed, right? That's all you're doing with your time. So now think about that. So if you're engaged, like my brother was saying, I think he said he was working or something else while he was listening to it. That's different. You're working. Okay. So generational differences. Young adults, 18 to 24, spend about 3 hours daily on social media, while those 65 and older, 1.7. Still a lot of time, but remember, social media is also taking over for the telephone and email and letters as archaic ways of keeping in contact with family, friends, and loved ones. The only one that's really still holding on strong is the telephone, right? Email is pretty much outsourced as a way to keep in contact with family, and no one writes letters anymore. I mean, yeah, some people might. It's kind of a romantic thing if you do that for your wife, your husband, or somebody, but because it's handwritten, right? But as a primary method of communication, no. Social media is in, the rest of those are out. The telephone is probably going to be on the way out. Don't say yeah, right. I know these supercomputers, these flat screen TVs that are actual supercomputers that actually are capable of making phone calls that could also shut the power down in Arizona. They're even talking about getting rid of these now, right? And what are they going to go to? Chips in your hand with a Neuralink? It's coming. Believe you me. We didn't think AI would be able to generate photos and videos of people who are not actually doing the things that the photos and videos have them doing. But here we are. All right. So regional variation. So Kenya spends the most time, averaging 3 hours and 43 minutes a day, while the Japanese spend the least, about 53 minutes. Japanese, they spend a lot of time working, though. I just saw a video on them yesterday that some of them work themselves to death, and they have a word for it, where they'll find themselves dead on the street or laying next to a fountain or on a bench or on a city bus, and they're just gone because they done just work themselves to death. There's a word for it. All right, global trends. Who knew? Who knew? Don't hate me. I didn't say it. Women tend to spend about 16 minutes more per day on social media than men. Now, I would have thought it was much higher. I'm not going to lie to you. I would have thought it was much higher. I knew if you asked me, I would put it all on red that it was women, not the men. But if you ask me how much more time, I would have said 2-3 hours. I would have said 2-3 hours, but I'd have been wrong. Okay, so time spent on platform daily average, 31 hours per month on TikTok, 58 minutes per day on Facebook, 53 minutes per day on Instagram, 50 minutes per day on Snapchat. Now, I will say this. There's some nuance here, right? Some people would argue back with, well, I'm an influencer. Okay, do you earn money? Yes. How much money? $24 a day. So you could work fast food and for 8 hours a day, earning $15 an hour. I'm going to get to that in a second because I know what you're saying, and I'm going to get there. I'm going there. So $15 an hour times 8 hours, that's $120 a day. You're earning $24 a day. What else do you do? If you have a job and you're doing this, good to go. If you are sitting at home with Cheeto dust in your beard, playing video games, and this is all you do, I would say you probably want to go get yourself a hard skill, my friend. Now let's see what the comments say. Let me 100 this because yeah, I do agree with those two. If they're building though, I ain't mad at them. If it's for entertainment, that's different. Yes, and that's the nuance I was going to talk about. So you went exactly where I was going. What do you do at your 62? I want each of you watching this to actually do this and show me what you do with your 62. Show yourself what you do at your 62. It's not just something that rhymes. It's not just something that's catchy. And I will tell you right now, it actually was 57 in the beginning. I did not have a slogan for it until it became 62. It was 57 because I'll tell you what was different. Instead of 10 hours for commuting, I had 15. And I was thinking of myself in particular because I do an hour to work and 2 hours home because of the traffic. It doesn't actually, it's an hour and 15 on the way there and like 2.5 sometimes hours on the way home. But so I was thinking about myself when I did it. So it ended up being 57 hours. That's 5 less hours. However, I looked up longevity, right? What my brother was just talking about, building, if they're building. Well, I was building something and I was not using my sight for where it was right then. I was using my vision for where I wanted to go, and I wanted to go global. What do you do with your 62 ought to be a global slogan that people know and love and follow, right? And I couldn't do that with 57 because I'm not dumb. I watched a video last year on trademark law from Earn Your Leisure, and there was a lawyer from Chicago, and she was a trademark lawyer, which I didn't know it existed until she said it. And she talked about copyrights and she talked about trademarks. So I looked up the number 57 and guess what it is? Heinz ketchup. And they were trademarked for the state because she talked about that with Burger King. They were trademarked for the nation. She talked about that with Burger King, and they were trademarked internationally. 57 is a no-go. So I took 2 hours out of the commute. I said that's rather excessive for the commute. They recommend 8 hours of sleep. The average work week is like 40 hours. It's actually 30 something, but we know a 40-hour work week. That's ingrained in our heads. So where could I take time? I took it out of the commute. It wound up being 62. What do you do at your 62? Popped into my head as soon as I saw it. When I looked it up, it wasn't trademarked, wasn't copywritten. That's where it came from, right? So do your equation for your 62 and let's talk about it. Let's have a good conversation. Does anybody want to mic up and say anything? Because we're gonna get out of here. Pretty much.
Anything.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh my God.
Okay, fair enough. What do you do with your 62? This is what this means. So this is time management, folks. What you do with your 62. And also, watch this. It could be a reality check, right? let's say with this person right here, this average person that has kids, right? Let's say there are no 6 hours in here for kid activities, like one of y'all put out there. There are no 6 hours for family time. So now instead of having 27 unaccounted for hours, you have 39 because those 12 hours are not in there. Your number then here becomes much higher. Your days per year then here becomes much higher. But it's a reality check for that person. Why? Because they are a person that had a parent and there's no time for the kids in here. There's how you can give yourself a reality check. So it's not just a reality check for the amount of unaccounted for hours in a week. It's not just thus a reality check for the amount of hours per year and then days per year unaccounted for. It's actually showing you where you're spending your time, what you are or are not doing, right? So if you say you want a degree and you have 0 hours in here for studying or degree or your master's, your bachelor's, your associates, you have no college in here at all, which if you were going to college, you would have to put that in here. That means you're not going to college. Or you signed up for some classes that you're not taking. And that's not smart, right? So there's a reality check. If you say you want a credential from Coursera or something, so like my wife's would have that in there. She does it every single day. I think one day last week she skipped because we had some other stuff going on, but she does a couple of hours every single day. She's also already earned one Coursera certificate. Let me see if I can find it. She sent it to me. She's already earned one. She got all the way through it. And she's going to get her degree in what is it that she wanted? She wanted to do accounting, book and bookkeeping. I don't see it on here. This is our paint night. Oh, this is one of my, okay. I don't see it on here, but if I find it, I'll let y'all know. But she got through one Coursera cert already. Suffice it to say. But that's because her 62 has it in there already. So she most certainly does that. So if you, and here's my thing. If you're saying, I want to do this, I want to achieve that, I want to go here, and there's no hours for it in your equation every week, what are you doing? Go ahead. You unmute it.
Yeah. So success and effort is intentional, man, as we know. So if, as you said, you want to do these things and you say you want to become a streamer, but then every time I see you, you're playing a video game, but it's not streaming, then what are you doing? If you say, hey, I wanna record these games and upload them, but every time I see you recording, playing the games, you're not recording to get ready to upload. What are you doing? If you say, hey, I want to learn, nursing or phlebotomy, and they have courses that I show you, hey, there's a course for that. You could go take this course, and you never do what you can at work or whatever to carve some time out at night school because, oh, when I get off work, I'm too tired to do that. Well, then when are you ever going to be intentional about achieving the things you want to do to get you to the next step? And sometimes that takes hard conversations. Sometimes that takes an accountability buddy, a partner. Um, Sometimes that may take a spouse saying, hey, we need to get you moving, and sometimes it takes support because sometimes we know we're in our own way. And sometimes you could just kind of need that other person to nudge you and be like, hey, time to get moving. It shouldn't take you that, but we're human. And sometimes it does. And if that's what it takes, find that person that makes you want to get up and achieve for them. For me, getting married was finding a significant other. My wife was the thing. Finding someone of value that I prayed for this woman. And after praying for this woman, when she showed up, I said, okay, I can't fail because if I fail and she's attached to me, I fail her.
Look at my
I
man
think
trying
it's
to get
kind of
some.
fast.
Hey, that's how you get brownie points, everybody. That's how you do it.
Get out.
Yeah, that's my
Get
dog right there. My man basically got it and said, baby. my man was my man was singing to him, boy. Get it. Good.
Get out. Yeah, but I mean, seriously, that's I don't
No, that's real
recommend
talk.
most of us do that because you don't want to wind up with a family first, and then the time you were supposed to spend to develop yourself, you are now taking care of family because then it's always going to be some crutch in your way. So don't build yourself up into a wall where you have a bunch of excuses of why you didn't achieve. And especially if you already got kids and or your wife, show them folks what success looks like in the face of adversity. But more importantly, show yourself because yeah, we can say we want to show up all day to make these things happen, but you have to be intentional about it. You have to force. I made myself hate certain things so that I would stop doing them. Like video games so much. Um, Sometimes I just turn it on and then leave it there and look at it. And while I hear the music playing in the background, I go and do what I'm actually supposed to do. And that helps. Whatever works for you, whatever, learn what makes you tick, learn what makes you move. Think about it like this: if I don't get 30 minutes done today, we'll be homeless. I'll be jobless. My job could fire me tomorrow. Whatever makes you tick, because that's important. Whatever you need is motivation. Give you some of that and use it to become successful. That's pretty much all I got. I missed a lot of the content, probably the last 30 minutes or so.
No, I actually no, that was actually some real stuff, man. You know, I think a lot of guys nowadays do exactly what you just described. Instead of going out and being successful and building themselves and building the empire, some of I think a good bit of them will look for the girlfriend and make a family with her, then marry her, then try to build, and it's a lot harder a lot of times. That can work out good for some people, but on a balance of probabilities, that's actually the hardest way to do it. Especially if hardest, it's a harder way of doing it. Obviously, doing that and becoming a single parent then becomes the hardest way to do it. But if you maintain singleness, build, and then later attract, that seems to be the um, prevailing way to do it nowadays. That seems to be what's prevailing as the way to do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with finding someone young and building with them, and y'all are both shooting in the gym together, as the saying goes. But I think a lot of
Are you saying
times,
if you don't work out, we won't work out? Is that what you're saying?
no, 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 didn't say that. Didn't say that. I am saying that right now we have a lot of folks waiting for finished products. They wait at the finish line of the marathon um, to catch the champions at the end, draft day, stuff like that, instead of finding them young, because nobody wants to date on potential. This is not going to become a dating topic. I'm just saying that it's not wrong to find someone young and y'all both do the work and build the empire together. That's not wrong. It's just typically going to be harder because then you also have the honeymoon phase of the relationship to deal with. And how you going to, what's your 62 going to look like when a lot of time is baked in there for lovey dovey? Or you may try to bake into your time budget to be productive. The other person then becomes noise. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? If you
Yeah,
put it
yeah, and that can even sound offensive, even though it's not meant to be.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So when you talk about what do you do with your 62, it sounds great. Fine, I'll just budget time for me and her, and I'll just budget 15 hours a week. So if we go crazy in a week with just being hugged up or sitting on the couch watching TV, hiking, picnics, whatever we're doing, then I have already budgeted the time in there, right? But we're looking for productivity out of those hours too, right? And like we're not going crazy. We're not saying don't spend time with your spouse. We're not saying that. Signal versus noise is productivity versus non-productivity, or productive versus non-productive, what I put on there, or focus versus distraction. One of my children has a lot of issues with getting distracted. And so we always have to tell her getting distracted, and then she'll snap right back to what she was supposed to be doing in the first place, right? And so we're helping her with the signal versus noise because she doesn't gravitate 80% or even 51 and 49% versus signal. She gravitates that much towards the noise. That means you'll never accomplish anything. And he did say, Kevin O'Leary did say, if you find the ones in history who were 80-20 signal versus noise, you'll find a successful person. But the ones that get down to 50-50, they're going to fail every time. And now here's the thing. You could have a very good life at 50-50. You could. You could work a job. You could work two jobs. You could get a pension. You get two pensions. You can get a wife, have children, and you could live a very good life at 50-50. That's not what we're talking about. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, if you want to get to the top of wherever you're going, you want to be a top judge in the Supreme Court, you want to be the top lawyer winning all the cases, you want to get to law school, pass it, and get to a good law firm and then do well, right? You want to get to med school. If you want to become a doctor, a neurosurgeon, a plastic surgeon, a pediatrician, I don't care what it is, you have to block out the noise. That's what we're getting at. You could be an electrician, a plumber, and just be an everyday average earning guy that goes to work, works his way up to top pay because now you're a master electrician. You can do all of that. But we're saying if you want to go beyond that, you have to block out the noise. That's it. And to be just productive in life and not waste time, not waste money and stuff, you need a budget. So we went over budgeting a couple weeks ago, and now we're talking about signal versus noise. And what do you do at your 62 and budgeting your time? That's all I have for y'all this week. Unless anybody else in Discord has any closing thoughts, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show.
Yeah. There's two, but I'm going to keep them simple, but there's things to think about. The first one is having a network of other people that are also doing the things you're doing. Because some of us isolate ourselves.
Talk it.
And we can work in that isolation. And some of us can actually build things in that isolation. But a lot of us, we're going to surround ourselves with other people. And if the other people that we surround ourselves with constantly discourage us from pursuing the goals and dreams that we have, and I'm going to use this as an example of people that weren't helpers, they were discouragers. If any of you have seen The Princess and the Frog, in the beginning of the movie, the one with Tiana, and they're in, I think, Louisiana, New Orleans.
Yeah, Nolans, yeah.
She has friends that she's Nolans. She has friends that she, talks to, and they invite her out for a party or a celebration later. And she's like, no, I'm taking that extra shift. And as she goes to finish her thought, they're like, yeah, so you can make enough money to start your business. Girl, you don't never come out and do anything with us. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing here. That is discouraging. So as she walked away, you could see how downhearted she became after the people that were supposedly in her social circle just wanted to relax and have fun and do normal everyday things, But she had dreams of grandeur. She wanted to do more. And she didn't have people around her that supported her doing more. So she didn't have people that could say, you know what, let me chip in with you financially. She didn't have people to, rub her back or rub her feet or just cheer her on. Hey, you're doing it. She didn't have people that say, hey, there's a better pathway to get from here to here. You can do this, and now you're there much faster. Hey, there's another job over here, and by the way, it pays more than this other job you got. Let me bring you in.
Or
She
for the
didn't have
one
depth of
girl,
resources.
the best friend. My daddy is well connected. He
There you
probably
go.
knows of somebody who can invest in your business and get you off the ground.
And the funny thing is he's the one who wound up tossing up the cash because her best friend asked for the beignets, those desserts, and she pulled a stack of cash from the father and said, "Will this about cover it?" She was support without even realizing she was support. She didn't realize the value of her being support.
Well,
But it's
she
important
wouldn't
that
because
you understand
everything
the
was
people in your
handed
life.
to that girl. She
Correct.
wouldn't, but she
But
was. I get the point of what you're saying.
Right. So you need to understand the value of those in your life. And it's not that you should only have people that you can use. Is that when you, because there's their hee hee ha ha times, keep it to a minimum if you can, but you also need people that are useful. Not to be used, but to be useful. A lot of people want to be useful, but they want appreciation for it, or they don't want you to take advantage of them being useful. They want to know that you appreciate what they do for them. And they want you to show it in ways they can appreciate, not in ways you want to show the appreciation. So they want to be useful, not being used. So as long as you have useful people in your life, great. And if you don't, find mentors, find peers in the spaces that you want to wind up in so that you can get a head start and start speaking the same language they're speaking so you can understand the terminologies. That's what the Blacksmith Podcast is for, so that you can plug in and connect with people that are already doing the things you want to learn. And no matter where you are, you can either contribute or you can learn and help the more junior folks coming into the learning space, not by age, but by knowledge level. You can help the more junior folks learn and jump in with us too. One of the scariest things they've reported is they fear um, not knowing enough, so they just never get started. Well, then when will you ever get started?
They won't.
And I'll stop there. I'll back off there. But the second part of that, teach your kids. But you have to learn it to teach it, and it takes up so much time. And I get it. But you have to teach your kids because otherwise they'll have to relearn the same mindset that you just learned. You might think being around them is enough and doing it around them is enough, but you have to be intentional in teaching them and telling them that's what you want to see for them. And with that, I'm done.
JT, you got something on this? Because your 62 is kind of intricate. I guess it doesn't have
Boy,
to
he's
be.
been blowing it out of the water
So
in a good way.
food poisoning or I thought you meant
All right, there, buddy.
blowing it into the water
right, I
and then
got something for you.
blowing it out the draft. Okay.
I would just say for really finding a good balance for using your 62, two things have to happen. Well, a myriad of things, but let's just go with two at first. So one, you have to work really hard at something. Most of the time, that's going to be a 9 to 5. But the second thing that needs to happen is that once you work really hard at that 9 to 5, or you work really hard trying to do one habit in your life, such as start a business or whatever you think you want to do, you have to fail at it, or you have to go through some struggles. You have to finally get to a point where you find a balance between what you think you want to do, what you want to do, and you've worked really hard at what you want to do. Once you reach a peak level of frustration, man, I'm working really hard in this avenue, but it's not going anywhere. And I feel frustrated and I'm tired and I'm fatigued all the time. It's not that you start to work less, it's just that you might stumble upon something that helps you um, move farther and easier.
So
Because the thing
working
is that
smarter.
sometimes, not necessarily working smarter. Well, yes, working smarter, but just doing something where your hard work can get you farther.
Certain people are better at other things than other people are.
Okay.
And so when you figure out what you're really good at, if you're spending less than 60 hours a week, um, and it's not really getting you where you be, that same 60 hours working somewhere else, you might be, instead of being on a bike, you might be on a jet now, and you're just flying straight down the path.
Quite true. Quite true. All right. That's all? That's all you got?
Um,
If that's it, I just want to make
I
sure
would
I
say,
didn't.
uh,
Yeah, yeah.
no. Rounds are actually.
Is he talking? Are you talking? Your signal out? Ramza did what?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
That's what he said. I think we lost him. It sounded like his signal was cutting out during what he was saying anyway. But if you, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the show because I think we just completely lost him. But hey, folks, the Forge is gonna go cold. I hope to see y'all back again on next Saturday. Remember Saturday 10. Oh my God, no brownie points here. He gets the entire cheesecake, ice cream, and cookies all homemade. I'm gonna put this to that. I'm gonna put 100 on this one. I love y'all. I love y'all. I will see y'all next week. Just remember, what do you do with your 62? Budget your time, ration your time wisely, and block that noise out and get down to more signal than you have noise. Wow. And I will see y'all next week. Y'all have a good week.